Well, hello friends, and welcome to another video. We're going to try to we're going to power through some videos that we need to get through. I was going to make a video of all the videos that I need to make, but that just seemed like adding another video to the list of the videos. It made less and less sense the more I thought about it. So now we're just doing a video. We're going to talk about what I like to do with my scrap yarns, which I'm learning will bury you if you don't find an occupation for them. So among my many things is I keep my children's toy looms ready to rock and roll at all times with some weird warp on them. And then I just fill them in and make mug rugs, which then, pile up, and you give them to everyone you know for Christmas. Enjoy your mug rugs in 11 months, everyone. You're going to love them. They're adorable. So we have those. And then, of course, just like keeping a bag of it to, stuff stuff with. I mean, you can stuff anything. It's good wool. You can technically felt with it. I'll show you how you can brush it to make felting wool. But anyway, I thought I'd just show you like a few super easy things that I do to keep the yarn from taking over my house. I'm using it up as fast as I can, but it really builds up to the point that I keep 1 to 2 children's looms warped exclusively for that purpose. This one's the best though. It's like a little faux floor loom. You can watch me learn how to use this as my very first loom. That was a choice. Oh, before Erica, you had so many ideas. Not many of them were good. Anyway, not the point. Let's look at some of these and of my other little scrappy loom. Let's take a look. All right, feel free to ignore the other errant crafts about. We're trying to do a lot of videos all at once, and we're getting it done. All right. Anyway, so this is my, actually, I want to see how far I have left to go, because I'm trying to make them roughly square. So that's about how wide, and that's how long. So I need, I don't know, 10 rows maybe. All right, so we'll do that. And that's the level of effort I put into the measuring for these. This is Orlando loom, one of my many children's looms. I keep them warped up just for this kind of thing because I can put some whatever I have handy on as the warps. Whoops, we forgot to fold in your tail. Please hold. Please hold. You must weave in your tail, sir. Sorry. We're good. All right. And the harder and more you pack it down, 1, you use even more yarn. 2, you make an even thicker pad. So I literally will like stretch it, stretch it so that it really packs in the extra fiber. And not only does it use up the yarn faster, but it also makes it denser, which is nice. And I don't really give a hoot what yarns I use. Anything that's really short either gets put into the scrap bag. If it's over like 6 inches, I'll show you my other little fun loom where I'm making weird little, what I'm calling a centipede, because it looks like it's a bug with a million legs. But I'm weaving myself a little centipede, which you might have seen on the thumbnail. Anyway, we'll just whip through this really fast. Honestly, this is such a fun tiny loom. I love Orlando loom. He's a great little kid's loom, for 1. 2, you can warp it so tight because it's all wood. I mean, and it's just little wooden dowely thing, or not dowels. It's more of like it's still a gear with a pawl, but it's just a wooden pawl. Anyway, so what I've been doing for these is doing large gaps in between each of the mug rugs. And when there's a big gap in between, you can then have no fringe, which you, in theory, wouldn't want because it would not match whatever you just made. But if you leave a long enough tail, you just weave in the fringe after you do a hem stitch on it. If your warps match whatever you made, great. But when I'm using a big kid's loom, the warps are spaced out as such that they don't make a very even or normal looking fringe unless you just tie knots and you have one color of warp, which I don't. All right, we're almost there, and then I will speed run us through the actual hem stitch, because I don't think anybody needs to live through that. I think we all can hem stitch, and if you can't, I have done it in other videos, but I will show you that the nice part about hem stitching on the little bitty baby looms is that you can just turn the whole loom around to like whatever orientation is more normal for you to stitch at. Like my brain doesn't love to flip things around and do an upside down hem stitch. I can do it, but it takes longer. So when you're doing it this way, you can just literally turn the whole loom around and work it from whichever side you like. I find it a lot faster, to be perfectly honest, and because this beater can be used to pack it down really tight, you don't usually have to use your hem stitches to pack the yarn any tighter. All right, I think that gets us to just about square. Might do a few more just to be sure, but then I'm going to put on some music real quick here, and I will hem stitch this, and then I will come back and we will cut it off of the beams and see what little rugs we have gotten, and I will show you how I weave in the ends as one of our first uses of our scrap yarn. I kind of keep anything that's long enough to make at least two long warps out of, because I like to make chaos scarves that are kind of all mixed with really long portions of leftover yarns. But if they're anything under like 10 or 20 yards, I just put them into little mug rugs and stuff. All right, let me speed this along and give this a hem stitch in a second, and I will see you in a moment. All right, so after weaving those back through, they're just like this. I will wash them and block them like this, because then I still have a little room to squeak out any kinks. And then you have some nice mug rugs. So I will wash those and block those, and that is one of the things I do. This is what I've been calling the centipede. I keep a needle, just makes it easier, and anything roughly that size goes on here when I have it left over, and then I just literally I'm like forcing it down with all of my strength, and then it's a great little heddle bar loom, and I just take my little needle, and because they are loose, I have just been tying them, so you just get a couple in. I try not to repeat the color immediately, and I kind of like how it's like hyper compressed in the center and then turns crazy on the outer edges. Also, it's just nice to have this little guy to have available to put some scraps on, because if you have a pile, you can just go for quite some time working on your centipede. And then we have my little beater comb here, and I just smoosh them as much as possible. If I have to pull them down, I will. There's a couple spots where there's a little bit of the weft showing, but I think they look really fun. And I'll probably eventually trim the sides, but all I've done on these lower ones is just tie a simple square knot out of like every other. Listen to how thick it is. Sturdy. Anyway, that's my centipede, which I just like how that looks. We'll hang it on the wall in a shadow box. The other thing you can do, oh, for pity's sake, where did the cat brush go? Please hold. You can use any wool. I mean, you can do it with acrylic, but it's not going to needle felt as nicely, of course. You can either do the following. You can tie a few together, so you're not having to do quite so many pieces over and over. You can, I mean, you could technically tie all of them up to brush if you were trying to make a blend, we'll say. We'll pretend we're making our own wool blend. And technically you could respin this as well if you wanted, or you could use it as needle felting wool for an accent. And you want to get a good slicker brush without the little buffers on it. And then start at the ends. Single ply yarns will go faster. If it's twisted, you're going to lose more fiber, of course. But anyway, what you're basically doing is brushing it back into feltable fiber like this. So this is now very much needle feltable because it is good wool that you don't necessarily want to go to waste. And on the yarns that have a ply, which is when there's more than one strand put together, you can even brush them together so they blend. You might have to untwist the ply a little bit, but in general, you can add to your stash of needle felting yarn just by using a slicker brush. I recommend cleaning the cat hair out of it first. I obviously missed a couple. Anyway, but you can brush it all out. Even these, I think this is like a 4-ply worsted. They will brush out too. And you can also, if you are doing something like crochet or any kind of 3-dimensional like stuffed animal stitching, you can then use that as hair as well. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope that you have some different ideas to use your scraps. And then, of course, all this little extra stuff I use to stuff ornaments, or when I'm making dimensional stitching, I cram this in between the layers. But anyway, I hope this gave you some ideas for any of your extra scraps. You will end up at least with some gifts you can give away at the end of the year, and a centipede or two for your wall if you wish. I like my centipede. I like how it's all squished and then floof. There's a lot of pieces in there. You wouldn't think that there were, but there they are. That's like over a year's worth of little bitty scraps. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I hope to see you in the next one. If this is your particular brand of chaos, I would appreciate a like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!